I don't think the Knicks are as popular as the media would have you believe. Let me first of all say this is not a diss towards Knicks fans who are super passionate and had every reason to be proud of this team. You know, I saw some people criticize the Knicks after they lost, probably due to all the attention the team received. But I think for the most part, the fans are correct. I mean, you had an injury to Josh Hart at the end. Anunoby was out, couldn't play in that game 7. Julius Randle has been out. Mitchell Robinson out. Jalen Brunson was playing hurt and then got hurt even worse. So it's tough to say, anything negative about the Knicks and what they were able to achieve this season. Now, I have questions about their sustainability. Was this the best it was ever going to be? That's a possibility. Because you look at Tom Thibodeau's teams in the past, sometimes they overachieve and then they get burnt out. Obviously, they're going to have to figure out how to keep the team together, paying OG, paying Hartenstein, those sorts of things. Are they able to improve the roster? Are they able to get better? Are they able to build on that? That remains to be seen. But their front office has done a decent job, and their fans should be proud of what this team accomplished. I mean, Josh Hart was kind of the heartbeat, right? Like, that guy competed his tail off. And this team competed its tail off. That's why they beat Philly. So I understand why Knicks fans aren't upset at a loss here. I totally get that and feel, proud of what the team accomplished and feel satisfaction with the season that they were able to watch. And not to mention, Knicks fans went down to Philadelphia. They took that arena over. There's no questioning the Knicks fan base. And the Knicks fan base is very loud, right? They win a game. We see them in the streets and all that stuff. Those are all things that where, you watch them and you understand they've been yearning for this. And some of them are a little extra and want to go out and be seen. But whatever. That's not the point of what I'm talking about here today. Really, the point of what I'm talking about here today is the coverage the Knicks have received. There was a lot of criticism of the way ESPN covered that Game 7 against the Pacers. Awful announcing right there. ESPN faced a mountain of criticism for turning their NBA coverage into MSG Network and ignoring the Pacers in favor of Stephen A. Smith's Knicks love. And look, I question Stephen A. Smith is great at what he does. No one can question that. But I question how much he actually loves the Knicks and how much of this is performative, to give him something like he has with the Cowboys in the NFL, just on the other side of the coin. However, what I question about it is, are the Knicks as broadly popular as a channel like ESPN would have you believe in their coverage, in the disproportionate coverage of the Knicks? And I say no. I don't even think it's close because the Knicks don't have a transcendent superstar. Jalen Brunson proved himself to be a star player. He is a excellent player. It was a great signing by the Knicks. I'm not dissing Brunson. I do have a few complaints with Brunson and the foul hunting that he does, but he's still, a dog and a winner and exceeded any expectation anyone could have had for him. So I'm not saying that Brunson isn't a superstar in the value that he brings to the team, but he's not a superstar in mainstream curiosity the way a LeBron James is or a Steph Curry is or a Luka Doncic at this point is, and maybe Anthony Edwards is becoming. He's not that kind of guy. People aren't looking for his shoes, looking for his highlights in the same way. So they don't have a transcendent star. Not to mention, they haven't really been relevant much for decades. We always see this reference point of the 90s. They keep showing John Starks on the screen. And that goes all the way back to the 90s. Well, the 90s were what? 2006? What are we in 24? 2004, 2014, 2024, 30 years ago. Look at that math. 30 years ago, the 90s were. And in between, the Knicks have been mostly bad. Mostly bad with a couple of little runs. Obviously, Linsanity, the Carmelo team in 2013. But other than that, it's been crickets. So do you really think kids who grew up NBA fans during that time period care much about the Knicks? I mean, it's why when Kevin Durant made those comments about the Nets and the Knicks not being cool, that could resonate a bit. It's why the Nets were able to create a market share, sell merchandise and all that stuff, become a global brand in the process, because the Knicks, the whole debate about who runs New York, the Knicks are the institution in New York. And then they're right in the heart of Manhattan at Madison Square Garden. You have fans who have been fans their whole lives. You have fans who have gone through struggles to get to this mountaintop, if you will, that they just experienced. But for the fans at large outside of New York, you know, Brooklyn was just covered a ton. You know, it fell apart, but the Nets were discussed way more than the Knicks during that time period. They were more relevant than the Knicks during that time period. And other teams that have been more relevant than the Knicks during that time, the Celtics and the Lakers and the Spurs and the Heat and the Cavs and the Warriors and so on and so forth. A lot of teams have been more relevant than the Knicks. So when all of the coverage is skewed that way because A, of the market, B, because of Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and C, because so many in the media are New York based or Knicks fans, I think it is actually disproportionate to the actual interest. And it would behoove the NBA to really promote some of these smaller market teams a little bit too. Like the Pacers got no love in that series. Tyrese Halliburton's a good player, man. He's a real good player. He walked that hoodie, the Reggie Miller choking hoodie. You know, Halliburton's a big pro wrestling fan, and that shined through right there, right? That's how you cut a heel promo. But he's also, you know, a Team USA guy. He played better than Jalen Brunson for the U.S. team in FIBA. You know, his game was a little bit more conducive to what they were trying to do because Brunson needs to be a bit of a focal point, and obviously with a team like that, you don't need a focal point, and the way that the game is officiated is a little different. But nonetheless, in the NBA, we're always talking about these small markets like they don't matter, and everybody needs to get the hell out of there. Think about the NFL for a second. I mean, Pittsburgh is an institution. Freaking Pittsburgh. Green Bay, Wisconsin is an institution. In the NBA, if a player got sent there, we'd act like they were being marched toward their death. But in the NFL, those teams are promoted. And that's part of what makes the NFL so popular. Hell, I've been doing a lot of WNBA coverage. The Indiana Fever matter right now because Caitlin Clark's there. So I think it would actually benefit the NBA to start promoting these teams, especially in this age of parity that we're in now. Because I think the days of dynasties in the league are done with it being so hard to keep the core of a roster together, given the way the cap is structured. It's hard to get a bunch of max deals under one cap as well. And I think you see the most wide open NBA, where a team like Minnesota, and that's a team that's getting covered, and rightfully so. But I think the league would do well to cover all of its teams like that, or start at least to make that shift. Because if you're a fan, a casual fan, and you watch and you go, all they're talking about is the Knicks, you don't learn anything about the Pacers, and the Knicks are gone. And the Knicks are gone. You know, but some of that coverage, you would think the Knicks and the Lakers are the only two teams in the league.